a playlist original.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster Presents Deep Dives with Owen and Gaius. And as we teased in our last episode, this deep dive is being recorded on May 15th, Owen's actual
It's a very
birthday.
important day.
Very important day. Owen Erickson graced the earth 27 years ago today.
I did.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. Oh, who is that on the podcast?
Yeah.
Wait, I'm here, boys.
We got
What's going on?
guys with Owen and Gaius right here. Guys, we have a special guest. I decided to ask for an early birthday present from our other co-host, Jackson, and I actually asked him to join and make not only his first appearance, but he got to make his first pick. So
yes, sir.
Finally Jackson's pick. I'll tell you that. Finally Jackson's pick.
And he came in hot.
I'm just thinking on your birthday, too, of all days that we're recording this. Like, that's so unfair.
This is my present, man. This is my present. Is getting to record with you, man. That's
okay. Aw, dude. I'm flattered.
Yeah, it was funny
how what episode it'll be.
Yeah, definitely. I was funny because I text Owen, I think it was Thursday, because I knew the weekend was gonna be pretty full. Like he had like his birthday stuff and then Mother's Day, and I was just like, hey, have you picked the movie that you're gonna do?
I was trying to wait as long as I could, until I was like, hey, Jackson's gonna be on.
And then he was like, "Oh, I got a surprise." I was like, "What? Oh, that's cool." I was like, Jackson didn't even mention anything. I was like, "You little devil."
Yeah.
I kept secret.
Yeah, but so I was like, "Yeah, I need to get to watching." Like, I wonder why Owen hasn't picked it yet. And then this ended up being a very nice surprise indeed to have you on for the first time. To have you on for the first time. Yeah, like I said, if you missed it earlier, like he came in hot with his pick.
I wanted to make an impact for my first choice.
Quite the movie.
Inevitable.
Yeah, and I gotta say I'm glad. So as Owen mentioned, he DM'd me and gave me like he wanted 2 picks. So I pitched this, what we're talking about today, Killer Joe, and also Doom, which is something that if I'm on in the future is another one that I'm thinking about. That was one of my first ones I wrote down. I have a whole other story about that movie and what it means to me. But this is one that I'm glad we ended up going with. It wasn't one that I thought like hit all the boxes that I wanted for like a deep dive pick, where it wasn't like too mainstream. It just lined up. I needed a rewatch of it. It had been a couple of years, and it was one that I thought was obscure enough that at least maybe one of you guys hadn't seen before, and I was right in that.
I hadn't seen it.
This is a first time watch for you, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how I missed this because I feel like there's some controversial stuff in it that I probably would have.
Because I don't think it hit theaters. It was NC-17.
Right. Oh, that's true. Oh, yeah, I did read that. So, yeah, I was like, I'm looking at the cast. And I'm like, well, Matthew McConaughey is in this. Like, it's a really good cast.
Oh, my God, it's awesome.
And it actually comes out at a time where, like, Matthew McConaughey was, like, getting back on track with, like, not doing romantic comedy so much anymore.
Right.
It was like, like...
Is this post True Detective?
No, before.
Just before. Yeah.
That makes sense.
That was one of his dramatic projects, like soon after this one that he had done.
Yeah.
He did this and The Lincoln Lawyer in the same year, and those two movies kind of pivoted him. That's right.
Lincoln Lawyer. That's a good movie. For another time.
Awesome.
Yeah. He had a really very interesting year with this. Like of course I watched it, but then I like looked it up to kind of see like what other people were saying about it. Dude, I'll give more detail. I did like the movie, but I was like, I wonder if this got good reviews. And then I go to check, and it did get good reviews from critics that really got it. They were like, right. It's out there, but like for what it's doing it really well. So I was expecting like it to be like one of those things like where it was like maybe a cult fan favorite, but like critics didn't love it. Yeah. But when I saw the score, and I was like, oh, actually this was pretty well received, and it even had like a little like festival run too. Like I was like, good. I mean, I can't imagine being in a
definition of a fucking festival movie. This is the definition of a festival.
I can't imagine being in a screening for that.
Disgusting.
Like what?
I would imagine there would have been walkouts and stuff. Like there's some shit in this movie that is like I haven't seen in any others.
Never. Honestly, I mean, and like there's nudity, but there's not this extent of nudity in a lot of movies where it's like literally the first scene is waist down of a woman.
Yeah.
And
it's like greeted at the door.
Right, I think we know what we're getting into.
It's raunchy and disgusting from the get-go, which
but
love.
It's not like late night raunchy. It's realistic raunchy.
Right.
By the way, the actress who plays our role, Gina Gershon, I should have known because Gina Gershon in the stuff I have seen her in, she is not afraid to do anything. Like she's in a movie called Bound with Jennifer Tilly, which is really good, but they do some crazy stuff in that movie too. And like she just seems like she's
also just everything.
So I should have known from like seeing Gina Gershon in this, and from that start, I mean, like, oh, this is gonna be like this. She's known for doing some pretty out there stuff in movies. For the art.
So I haven't seen. I don't recognize her, but seeing her in this, yeah, she really is the one that kind of goes through the ringer in this one, and I can see that. She does. Before we get too started, what I wanted to preface by saying, I guess this might apply more to Gaius because he hadn't seen it, but so I'll start with saying, oh, when was the last time that you'd seen this?
So I watched this movie probably, I think if I could put a number on it, probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay,
so like,
nice. So good chunk of change.
Good chunk of time before I saw it. And the reason that I watched it was because I think I looked up. I was in this phase where I was like, dude, I just want to watch something that's like cinematically violent and like sort of ripping.
You and Jackson.
It's not just like it's not just like sort of, it's not like Kill Bill violent where it's like aggressive sort of, or even action violence like Hurt Locker or anything like that. I was like, I want to watch something that's like, I mean, it sounds messed up, but it's like I want to watch something that's kind of like a fucked up scenario that's like a very good.
Those make some of the best films.
Good story. And this was like the top of, I think, 3 lists, or like top 2 or 3 of 3 lists. And I was like, okay, I got to check this out. And then I saw the NC-17 rating and I was like, okay, let's watch this. Like, where it's movie.
Right.
So, but I hadn't seen it in a minute. And I will tell you that rewatching this, it's funny. So I was looking for where to watch it, and Prime Video has a one that's free with ads. So I started to watch that.
Okay.
The first scene that we were just talking about where she's like completely bottomless when she opens the door.
Yeah.
She opens the door, she's wearing clothes, and then I could tell there one word was censored. So there was no cussing. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. So I immediately stopped it and then rented it on Amazon for whatever it was, because I was like, I need to get the full experience. There's no way I'm watching this censored movie.
That's funny how
that wouldn't even be the same watch.
So that's how I found it first to watch, because I looked up where can I watch it, and I was like, oh, I have that for free, we can just watch it. And that was the first thing I noticed. At first I thought something was glitching out, and I was like, did that just like they blanked that on purpose? No,
it didn't sound right.
Didn't sound right at all. So then I realized, oh wait, and then I looked it up, and actually like people were saying not to watch on there because they did censor it. So I was like, okay. So then this is the first time that I've actually had to rent the movie. Usually I either like own it or I can find it somewhere to stream it. And
this is one I've not been able to find.
Yeah, and this was definitely one that I knew I couldn't watch, like he said, and even though I knew nothing really.
It's a very different movie, even 30 seconds in.
Yeah, and you guys had both already warned me, like, about not exactly what I was going to see, but I felt as if they were going to censor this, that maybe I'm not going to see the movie the way it's intended to be seen.
Yeah, good call.
So I turned it off. I think it was like 5 minutes in, and then I rented it, and then then I got the film exactly as it was. As intended by wonderful director William Friedkin, which is crazy. When I worked with the movie, I was like, oh, he directed The Exorcist, so yeah, there's that. I mean,
and
it's like all over the place, but like whatever. I mean, he's very provocative filmmaker, though.
Very provocative filmmaker.
Like, if you think about like kind of what he does with like Exorcist, right? He really went to some places in that movie that like at the time when that movie came out, like everyone was like, whoa, I can't believe they're doing that. Even though that was a horror movie, but they were like, I can't believe they're going. I can't imagine being in the theater in the 70s seeing The Exorcist for the first time. So he's definitely a filmmaker that like he wants to go there, and that's proven that time and time again. And he proved it with this too. I looked up some interviews where he was talking about the rating and stuff, and he was very adamant, like how he wanted this movie to be seen, and like really would lose some of its visceral impact if certain cuts were made.
Yeah, very much so.
I mean, now I will say there are things I can't unsee.
Jackson, you want to give a little synopsis?
Yeah, certainly. Well, more or less it centers around, so it takes place, it's all about this one family that lives in, I mean, they're definitely like a lower class kind of
they're trailer trash.
Okay. No offense.
I know you're Canadian. We're American. They're trailer trash in Texas.
Exactly. Yeah, Texas is that's where it takes place. So yeah, Texas trailer trash, just dirty family. And the main character, Emile Hirsch, he lives with his father and his stepmother, and they do not get along. He's got a younger sister, so they're living together. And he comes up with this plot to hire a man that they only know as Killer Joe, who's Matthew McConaughey, to kill Emile Hirsch's mother and his father's ex-wife to collect her $50,000 life insurance policy. So that would probably be the broad strokes of the movie. And obviously, like any good movie, nothing goes according to plan. And kind of once they
Shocking.
Pye or Matthew McConaughey, things get a little bit more complicated and all hell breaks loose. But what I wanted to ask Gaius is, what did you know about this movie before you watched it today? Like, did you do any like what did you know about it before you like looked into it?
So when he told me what you chose, I looked up a little bit about it. I had never heard of it. So this was like, this is weird. So this is
Wow.
very weird. I mean, we always kind of like joke around like whenever Owen can find something I've never watched, let alone heard
I'm
of.
so
like
glad.
that's a win. But then like reading up on it, like I said, I was like, how did I like miss this? But like Owen said, it didn't really have like a theatrical run really. But it seemed like one of those like kind of cult films that you would maybe talk about amongst like your friends. Like I'm still surprised I hadn't heard of it in that level either.
I think
like
I might have mentioned it to you once, like maybe it's just like, hey, have you seen this movie? And you could have been like, no. And then, I mean, obviously you're not going to remember from some random conversation, but that might be the only time that I've ever mentioned it.
Yeah. So yeah, so this was a true like almost blind experience. I had like never, and then I think I read like a couple of reviews that were positive, and but even those reviews, thankfully for the people that wrote them, didn't give away like some of the more, I'm trying to think what's the best way to put it, the more visceral things that you're going to see in the movie. So like even just the way they talked about it, even with discussing the plot, like some of them would say like, if you can get through it, I mean, because they said that it is a very like vile, dark, kind of filthy movie, but but then they also like there's a lot of references to being like almost like a dark comedy. So I was like, all right, I can.
Dude, I was gonna bring that up.
That's how I watch this movie. It is fucking hilarious.
So once I got, so that was all I had. So once the movie starts and it's going, I was like, oh, I can see why this is considered a very, very dark comedy, because what I was watching was pretty like out there, but it was funny though. I think that was the intention to like for the humor to be dark and to have these really kind of like, because not a lot of pleasant people in this film at all.
No one is a good guy in this movie. Everyone is disgusting.
And it's funny, like Jackson, I think we brought that. I remember I brought it up with Owen before, but like some people will say they can't watch certain things where there's like no one you can root for. Like everyone's just kind of like horrible.
Yeah.
But I accepted it in this because I was like, this is like what they're selling me, and I was benefited from the fact that I didn't really hear much about it watching it.
Very much so.
So I was very much surprised by everything. Especially, like I said, I only had that frame of reference from YouTube telling me like, no, there's like this scene, and like you guys didn't really tell me what it was, but it was like they're like, you'll know when you get to it. I almost went to. I almost wanted to like text you guys like, I think I got to it, and like,
well, you said it into our group chat. You said like, hey, so I now realize that. What did you even say? I didn't find the exact wording because it was so good. You said, you're like, guys, I've seen some fucked up shit in movies, but I'm legit shook by what I saw in this movie.
And for those who maybe are listening that end up going on to watch Killer Joe, I would say it's right around the hour 15 to 30 mark. This scene in particular, but there's a lot before that is definitely just dirty and like wrong almost. Like you feel. I actually remember picking this one out. So I watched this last night. I'd ordered a copy, the Blu-ray on eBay, because this is a movie I've never like seen while browsing before. Like it's just hard to come by.
Yeah. So
I ordered it online, hoping I would get here in time for me to watch it before we recorded, but I ended up having to watch it on like the Cineplex app on my TV, which was fine. I remember like maybe 15 or 20 minutes in being like, damn, like what are they gonna think of this pick and like of my choice? Like, did I pick something that was like too fucked up? So like I can't lie, like that thought crossed my mind, but then I was like, well, I know Owen has seen this and he was hyping up the pick, so like obviously, and something that I just excited to talk to Gaius about, having not seen it. So I ultimately just put that aside. But I'm glad to know that you guys enjoyed it and that it was a good watch. But I definitely have a dark like taste in movies and a dark sense of humor.
Okay, so it's really funny that like Jackson says this is what I've learned as we've been recording since January. Nicest guy ever, like super, super nice. But we'll talk about certain movies, like where it comes to like gore and all this other stuff. He's like, I wish they would have just like shown everything. Like I would have seen like flooding.
I am the exact same way.
Like, don't shy away.
Cocaine Bear, and I was like, they didn't really show them getting eaten by the
bear.
Not
violent.
So like you both have that in common, where it's like, I want to see like entrails and stuff. I'm like, Jackson, where is this coming from?
But at the same time, too, Jackson, that is the glory and the benefit of the show, is that literally, like Gaius has said, oh, like, what do you want me to pick? Like, do you mind if I pick anything? I was like, listen, the point of the show, pick whatever
Whatever.
you want, and then
Right.
we watch it and we talk about it. Like, that's the best part of the show, is that
And
whatever you
that
want.
makes me feel better that we made this. But I'm very happy in my decision overall, because it was just like so nice to be back in like this movie that's like not so mainstream, and like just to be like watching something that was just so out there again. It had been a couple of years, and yeah, I just wanted to. What I'm most excited for is to see what you boys thought about this pick after like watching it like, for the first time and as a rewatch.
Yeah, dude, I will say there were a lot more comedic moments that I noticed in the second watch.
Agreed.
Like, after seeing it again, there were a lot of moments that I like actually burst out laughing at.
Me too.
One of them specifically was, so there's a scene when Dottie finally meets Joe. So Dottie finally meets Matthew McConaughey. And I will preface this by saying, like, the acting is great in the beginning where you can tell they're trailer trash.
Right.
When McConaughey comes in, I don't know if he's become a seasoned actor at this time or whatever it is, but you can just tell the movie changes. Like, you can just tell that like his acting is like
top notch.
Makes this movie completely take to another level.
Yes.
That it's just like, this is a professional movie now. Like, I don't know, I just felt that. But the scene when she asks him, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen?
As a
and
detective,
he's
right?
talking about this guy like who lights his genitals on fire to get back at his ex-girlfriend, something from his cop days. And she asks him, was he all right? He's like, no, he was not all right.
Right. He said his
genitals on fire.
It's the way he said it.
Oh my god, I was dying laughing at that. Like, it was just the perfect delivery. There's so many great. I just love how realistic it seems, especially when the conversation they're having of like this idea that Emile Hirsch and like all these guys have to kill obviously like the entire plot of the movie. They're like, this is a great idea. Killer Joe's going to go for it. And they're like, well, we're going to have to advance the money. And he's like, conversation over. Done. You never met me. I'm out. There's no reason for me to do this. That makes no sense to me. But then he sees sort of this naive, free-spirited sort of, I mean, I thought she was 15 when I first watched it.
I know. Yes.
Oh my god, that is just like.
Well, here's the
ridiculous.
thing. So this was something that I had thought too, and I remember when I first saw this, my buddy Cam, like my movie guy, one of my best friends, he brought this movie over back when I was living in like an apartment with my roommate now and a couple of other friends, and we sat down and watched this, and I was under that impression too, because there's a scene where, like, which I wrote down in my notes as the weirdest sex scene maybe ever, and I stand by that, where he's kind of like behind her and like kind of like getting her into like this particular mindset and mood, and he asks how old she is, and she goes 12, and he says, me too. And when I first watched this, I thought she was being literal. Like, he was, because the whole time I'm wondering her age, but she's also shown like naked on screen. I'm like, there's no way.
The actress for sure is not.
No, definitely not.
That's what I thought. Like, they hired someone who's obviously like 18.
Yeah, Juno Temple definitely wasn't, but yeah,
I wrote down she was for 21. Sure. That threw me. I actually thought that her character was supposed to be that age, but I don't think they explicitly mention her age. But that scene, I have come to realize, is like her recounting her first like sexual experience. Yes. So I didn't clue into that until second viewing, and I was like, okay.
Maybe I thought that I took it as she actually was.
That is how I took it too, but that is not the case, which doesn't do much to like take away from the dirtiness of this movie, but it does do a little bit. So she is of age.
There's a little humanity.
That's right.
Because I took it as like, I thought they'd cast someone who looks super young to try and play someone who's matured very early and is sort of this, like, I don't know, that's the way I took it. So maybe, I guess I did.
No doubt that was like, I think a decision in her and Juno Temple's casting, because she is very innocent and she has these very youthful features. But
also the way she acts is also very like a little bit
simple, kind of, right?
Simple.
But a fun fact is, so Matthew McConaughey is actually 20 years older than her at the time of filming. He was 41 and she was 21. Wow. But definitely disturbing sort of dynamic between the two of them, and the whole aspect of her family kind of like offering her as an advance for him to kill the mother in lieu of payment. Yeah. But that scene, like you mentioned, when he kind of says the conversation's over, I'm not doing this without the money up front, no exceptions. And then he glimpses her and he goes, well, we didn't discuss the possibility of a retainer. Yes. And then this movie's taking a whole other dark direction of just
completely different turn. Yeah, it's going there.
Very much so.
So here's the thing that I wanted to ask you guys. It's like,
sure.
Like, he has like Killer Joe. I mean, this is just as an audience member, kind of maybe reading a little bit too in between the lines. But it's like, if some guy knows that Joe has this side business, like, how realistic would it be for him to still be employed as a detective? Because it just kind of seems like how realistic. It doesn't seem like a super realistic sort of scenario where, like,
No,
'cause
probably
if
not.
one guy knows, many people know, and he's like willing to kill people for it. And then she even asks too, like, "Are you going to be the detective who investigates this murder?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"Might be, but
Right.
probably not." Like, and like, how is that? He's like, "It's not that. It's fine. Like, I won't find me."
Yeah, you
like-
would expect it to like kind of travel a lot more. Like it would be known that
Yeah.
he had this like kind of like secret life, other job thing that he was doing.
Exactly. So did
Um,
that bother you guys? Like, did that sort of hinder like your viewing, or like, did you think that that was a poor choice? Like, how did you sort of take that, like his job sort of thing? Like, I mean, I guess this is the whole scenario.
You go ahead, Gaius. You go first.
I didn't really overthink it, Tim. I get what you're saying though. I like for the purpose of like the film and like what the story was trying to tell, like I kind of went with the fact that like a lot of people don't like know about it. And now it's funny that you mentioning like, well, this person knows that he does this, like when multiple people like
Yeah.
I didn't think about it till you said it. But just for the purposes of the film, like I didn't really overthink it too much.
Mhm.
I thought it might be something that he could keep relatively secret for the most part.
I
And
think that it kind of hit me too, especially when, like, because I was thinking about it when the movie started. I was like, okay, I remember the plot. Like, does this really make sense? But then when Emile asks him, his name is Emile, right?
The actor,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
when
actor,
when
yeah.
Chris in the
When
movie.
he
Yeah,
asks,
that's right,
I'm just gonna- and I'm sorry to say this, but when he asks the Sandman, I'm just gonna say the Sandman.
commentate.
So when he asks the Sandman,
Right.
when he asks him and he's like, "Do you know who Killer Joe is?" and the guy says no. So it's like, if this sort of like kind of regular towny kind of guy doesn't know who Killer Joe is, maybe that's meant for us to be like, okay, he's not super well known.
Right.
Yeah.
For me, how I rectify that whole dilemma of him being found out, there's two things I kind of would look at to approach that issue. One is like that scene where he meets Chris and his father in like that little pool hall to discuss like the nature of what they want him to do. I feel like Matthew does a great job of very clearly defining like how he operates, and he's not going to accept anything outside of the boundaries. Like, you do not ever mention me. He's very clear that he takes steps to make sure that he's not incriminated by literally telling them, he's like, under no circumstances will I let you live if you in any way incriminate me, and like if you ever get
So
caught.
maybe
with
there
this
were
crime.
people who knew it was him, and he killed them.
He killed him.
So
Yeah,
it's
I
insinuating,
get-
like-
yeah, I assume that would be that would be one of the reasons why he's
It's
not really
such
found
a
out.
good kept
Yeah,
secret.
yeah.
The other thing I look at is I could see, like, obviously we don't see this in the movie, spoiler alert, but Joe is, as we later see in the movie, is such an unhinged, crazy guy that this is a guy that is probably going to be caught doing this eventually if he goes on long enough. Like, we see this like in the scene which is an amazing scene, when Chris comes to see him at the police headquarters, and they're
Yeah.
outside, and Joe just goes, like, Chris is rambling on about backing out of this job. He's like, I don't know if we should do this anymore. Like,
Also, he's in front of the fucking police station.
And Joe's not saying
How is no one being
Yeah.
like, "Hey, Joe, who the hell is this guy?"
Who's that guy?
yeah.
And you let him get in your car?
And then they get in the car, and then Joe's really not saying anything, just letting Chris ramble. And then they get all the way to this restaurant, like in the outskirts of town. And then he just takes Chris outside and opens the trunk, and his mother's already dead inside, which I thought was an amazing scene.
that-
Just
You can't do
A
this
test-
anymore. Well,
yeah, it's too late to back
Yeah,
it.
that's
that's-
also a testament of the film's really dark humor, though. 'Cause that was like
Yeah.
oddly funny. It was like funny, but it's like,
Well,
oh,
shit.
Just
But-
wide-eyed.
yeah.
He's such a reckless character, and that is one of those scenes that I think, like, showing up to work with a dead body in your trunk as a detective. Like, this is a guy that too unhinged to really do this for long.
Toe both lines, like to live both lives, basically.
Exactly. So that's kind of how I
Also, too,
don't.
That was a little frustrating to me. We never got to see how he did it.
Yeah, there's not
I
even.
I mean, we
Yeah.
saw how he framed it, which is exactly sort of what, as the cops and how everyone else saw it, is exactly what they would think happened. But we never
Yep.
know
Yeah.
his method, which I guess is like just in
I-
tune with Killer Joe.
I like that unconventional aspect of a movie. Like, it's a movie that centers around a murder, and you're not going to see the murder happen on
murder.
the screen.
Well,
I just
even
like
the
that's
end is
different.
ambiguous too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is another whole other point to get
Well,
to. I love them.
Yeah,
I
sorry
would-
to jump
I would-
ahead way too.
No, I would
No, that's all
say,
good.
I would say that they were thinking like maybe less is more, but there's so much stuff in there where that is not the case. So I don't
Exactly.
I don't think that is their train of thought. It's interesting that I wanted to, what you mentioned about Matthew McConaughey, because you said when he enters the movie, like everyone is very good in this. Like they are 100% committed to their roles, but it does feel like completely different once he enters. And we kind of brought this up when we were recording like the Fast and Furious episode with Ty, and we brought up Matthew McConaughey. around this period, like I mentioned to Jackson, when he first started, of course everyone knows about Dazed and Confused and all that, but like when he became like a big mainstream actor, it was right after he did A Time to Kill, and it was like dramatic, like a very dramatic work, and like that is the kind of career I thought he was gonna have. And then he pivoted. I mean, he did a few other serious movies, like Frailty is another good one that's a lot of people haven't seen with him that I think you guys might like if you enjoyed this. It's pretty dark
I have
as
not seen
well.
that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
But like then he kind of pivoted because I mean these movies did make money, but then he did like The Wedding Planner and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and Fool's Gold and Ghosts of
Which also
Girlfriends.
made a bunch of money and are the top like favorite movies of many
Well,
girlfriends
the
that
girls.
I know.
Yeah.
Right.
They're like,
So,
I
like,
love that movie. So it's like, it's not like
So-
he's not successful, but
No, it's not that, but like I remember during that period I was like, dude, this is the guy that did like crazy good dramatic work in A Time to Kill. Like I want that guy back. And like so I
Yeah.
get why then I'm looking at during this period where it seems like it starts where he maybe himself where he was like, I don't mind doing those movies. Like you said, they were very successful, but I feel like he might have wanted to pivot as an actor again to go back to like the stuff
have
he
you
was
read his
doing when he-
autobiography? Have you read Greenlights?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so if you have a
On
chance
my
to read
reading
that,
list.
if you've read Greenlight, I think that's what it's called. That's his autobiography. Like he talks exactly about this time in his life.
Oh,
where
this-
he was
oh,
basically
really?
Okay.
like,
Cool.
yeah, he basically says like, hey, like I wanted to get away. He's like, I turned down millions of dollars because I wanted to stop doing that kind of stuff. And that's when he did this True Detective, Dallas Buyers Club, and
Right.
like his
The Lincoln
entire
Lawyer,
career
and-
shifted because he
Yeah.
was waiting for the right role. And
This
so
is
like that's
quite the role.
exactly like what you're saying is exactly what he did.
Yeah, that's crazy because then around this time I think Mud was another one that came like after like around like
Yep.
Right
Like,
after
during
Mud
this
is
whole, like,
awesome.
during this whole
That
like
would've been a great pick,
renaissance
too.
of Matthew McConaughey like coming
That's
back
a
in
good
like
pick.
like he like
McConaughey.
yeah the whole time the McConaughey yeah everyone Brendan Fraser had one of those.
Yeah.
They all come back eventually. But like yeah, when I was watching it, I was like, this
Renaissance.
guy like Matthew McConaughey is such a good actor though. Like
Oh
and
my
you can
God, yeah.
like there was like moments in this movie where I was like it almost felt like he wasn't acting. Like I was just I mean he was. It was weird to watch someone
In the
be
wrong
like,
places that it should have been.
Yeah,
In
and
the
it was
places
also
where I
weird-
didn't want him to feel like he wasn't acting.
yeah, and he also
Yeah,
was able to
100%.
he utilizes like the natural charm that he has because there is something very cool about the character, but then there's
Yeah.
also of course like Jackson
Just the
mentioned
way he
earlier,
dresses.
yeah, the way he dresses, where he carries himself, but then the fact that he can flip and get completely unhinged, like I
Mhm.
just like Matthew McConaughey sells that so well, and like it's not like scenery chewing or anything. I think he does just enough to where it's like it's
Yeah.
not too over the top where you're like, oh, I'm taken out of it now. I think he knew
Well, my favorite
exactly.
part too is like,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I just knew. I think he. I mean, everyone in the film, but I think he completely understood the tone and like what he needed to do, exact to walk a fine line between it becoming like too over the top, where it's almost like a parody and it's not good. Like he was able to be like frightening in certain spots too. I was like, the guy is like all
Yep.
over the map in this, and I was like, I kind of sometimes I need a reminder of like how good he is, and like this was like a pretty solid reminder of how good he is as an actor.
Well, I think it just is a testament to, I mean, going back to the writers, like the script is so good that like the character of Killer Joe itself, I think, is like so well written in the fact that he never actually like implicates himself because he's a detective. He never like all he does pretty much is just asks questions
Yeah.
to get the other person to pretty much confess about all
Yeah.
the shit that they've done that he knows is right. And he's like, okay, like, well, now that you've basically told me what I know is true because I know you're lying.
Mm.
Now I'm gonna act accordingly based
Right.
on what I know is
That's-
the fact. But I want you to realize that I know because I found you out. And I love the way that he, especially in the KFC scene, I guess,
Oh, that
Kentucky Fry scene. I mean, I guess that's the only way that I can really say like that scene is so well written in just the fact that like his questions to her immediately just being like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Like, why are we talking about this? I told you my answer already. Like, it's just
Yeah.
so well done.
he does.
That
I think
shows
she.
his
Yeah.
his coolness, like his ability to get something out of someone, and his ability also not to flip his top after
On the
knowing
switch.
they both fucked him over, and he knows that,
Yeah.
but he wants them to realize it, and that's crazy to me. Like that's something that is really well done.
I think she keeps right up with him in that scene in terms of like her acting
my
ability,
God.
in terms of like she's trying her best to try to like get away from this one little slip up that she'd mentioned and trying to divert his attention away from this one little detail when she slips that the policy was 100,000 and not
Right.
50. And
Yeah.
he, like you just mentioned, is so good at just asking her questions to incriminate herself. And she can't help it. She's so scared that she has to answer everything that he says and just talks
She
herself
tries
into the
to stand
corner.
up to him, but like
Yes.
he has such an intimidating presence. Like there's moments where you see she's just like, I can handle myself, like steps
Right.
up to him, but he never loses his cool and she continues to break. And that's
Yeah.
very impressive.
Until he literally I think honestly one of the most gripping scenes or moments, it's not a scene, but when he just straight up punches her right in the nose. Oh
Dude,
my god, you
that was
feel
so
that
brutal.
punch.
I jumped.
Oh,
It was
right?
like, it
It's
looked
such a
like
shocking
I
scene.
mean, you see so many like movie hits, like I mean, whatever that looked like he really hit her,
Oh,
like really
yeah.
hit the actress for real, and like it legit made me jump. You know what I couldn't find when I was like looking up stuff about the movie? So I guess it's based on the play by Tracy Letts. It
Yes.
came out in '93. But I was trying to look up comparisons to the play and like the movie.
Okay.
Like, and I couldn't really find like I couldn't imagine going to see this if it's as it is film wise. Like, I couldn't like find anything on that, but I just thought it was interesting that like that's how this project began its life. And I was like, I wonder if they even like, does it go this far in play form?
I have a feeling that William Friedkin kind of adds his own little like perverted sort of touch to this movie because like
definitely
he's like you said, he's an older director. He was born in the 30s, I think, at some point. Has done like these like Exorcist was a great example. Like there's some like vile, obviously it's adapted from a book as well, but there's like this is a guy that has a history of showing like very like controversial, vile things on screen.
I mean,
like,
yeah.
Part of his signature.
He filmed a scene in The Exorcist where a girl stabs herself in the vagina with a crucifix. I mean, I guess that's how we should know.
Yeah.
I guess that's how we should know, like exactly where his head is.
And apparently, that scene is actually dumbed down from the book. So people say that have read the book. Apparently, it's not even as.
What?
Apparently, I don't know how because it's so fucking terrible and disgusting. But apparently it's worse in the book. That's what they say.
It's bad in the movie. It's bad in the movie, dude.
It's bad in the movie.
Not only does that happen, but then she grabs her mother's head and just like lick me and like pops her head down there.
Oh Jesus, man!
Oh, yes. So this is the director we're dealing with. So that's what I mean. Like I kind of agree with you that he might have added a lot of flares to this.
I don't know for sure, but I can't think.
I think he saw like when McConaughey's getting her to suck the chicken wing. I think like the extra like sort of shakes and his like that. I think he's like more.
Yeah.
Give me more. I think that's probably like some of the stuff that he's asking for like his notes a little bit maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Matt was having fun filming that too.
He's like keep it going, man.
Yeah. Like, how many takes do you want to do? He's like, let's do it again.
I think the best secondary character is the Sandman. I mean, like,
man,
but it's like he just does such a great job playing.
Thomas Haden Church, everybody, just in case you're wondering.
Yeah. I mean, it's like to see someone on basically the same level as their son, and they're both deadbeats. It's such an interesting sort of character development to see where like they're both not shit at all. They've never done anything. Even him saying in the beginning, I've never even had $1,000 in my entire life. So like to see that, which means like he can't really judge his son. Everything his son has done, he's done himself. His son is a product of whatever he's built him to be. And they're friends. I mean,
yeah, they are. They're like
they're buddies. Yeah,
they're buddies. It's so
that's
also
the dynamic.
His simple-mindedness, and I just like brings it down to the best. Like when he's showing, when McConaughey's showing him pictures, he's like, "Is that your dick?" He's like, "No, no." Is that your dick? No. And this one, he just like keeps going, and just his answers are just like simplistic and there. And
he has some gold lines in that movie. Even in that one scene, I can't remember exactly what he says. I thought I wrote this one down, but I didn't. But it's in that exact same scene when McConaughey is showing him the pictures of his wife, fucking Rex, and he's like, "Did you have any idea? Are you in the know?" He goes, "I'm never in the know," or something. Whatever it is.
I never know anything.
He's like, "I never know anything." Exactly. That line killed me. But the part where I actually burst out laughing is, I think it's right after or during the chicken wing fellatio scene, is when I think McConaughey like addresses something to him, and he just literally just from out of nowhere just pukes on the ground. Yeah. I burst out laughing. I forgot about that one part, and it's just from out of nowhere, and my God, that got me.
Well, I felt his pain too, because like he's looking away. He can't look at that.
That's right.
I feel like that was half what the character would do, and half also the actor being like, "This is fucked up."
What am I
Like,
watching
this
right
is
now?
like, I don't.
I wonder if they even cross. I mean, once you sign up for something like this, I mean, it's different when you see it written on the page, right? And then you have to actually, and then you actually have to actually do these scenes. I wonder if there. I mean, there has to be a lot of like just trust too, right, between director and actors, right? And like,
what's the cool? What's like the like cooler talk after that? Like water cooler talk after like, hey, so like, how was the scene? Yeah, let's talk to Mark.
It's like, I mean, there has to be a high level of trust doing stuff like that. I mean, like I mean, credit to actors who do it, because I know that I don't think I could do certain scenes in movies. Like, I think I would be like, dude, like, what did I sign up for? Like, I mean, I know I read it, but it's different when they're like, all right, let's direct this and do this. And like you said, that, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was just like, oh, to make some of these scenes even go further, that he would probably do things on set on the day to like suggest they do it. Suggest they do it this way. I mean, I do respect it though, because it doesn't have the same impact if you don't go completely all there. I mean, you have to be able to just like, this is what this is. And if there was any misstep in selling it, if like you didn't buy it from any one person in the movie, then it doesn't work. It doesn't have like the impact that it needs to have. But man, I agree with you. I don't know what the conversations would be like after you call cut.
I think even too, just like the dynamic of like the actors and like what the pre-work to do, and like what you kind of talk about before to make each other comfortable. McConaughey being 20 years older than June, like that, and like, she has to be fully nude. She's putting her hands down his pants, like that. Just like all of those scenes in general, like there just has to be some sort of like legitimate professionality in that, because
very much
like,
so.
Without that, like what, like to me, I mean, put a great piece of art, like we were talking about in the chat, like it's art, yes it is, but like to them they did it. So how do you like take that away? Like being an actor must be tough, and no wonder they get paid millions of dollars. What a
that's right.
It has to be. Well, you'll actually hear like so many actors talk when they have intimate scenes or like anything like that. They all talk about how they're very uncomfortable to do, and like because a lot of people, even if the scenes of intimacy are like kind of weird and offbeat, or if they're just normal, they're like, hey, like you're being told what to do and how to do it by a director, and then there's all these other people who are around you lighting you and telling you to move this way and touch her here. And it's like they're like, it's not like fun.
Like, Matthew, like, just like that.
yeah. And they were always say like, some people are like, oh, like must be so hot like doing certain scenes with certain people, and they're like, really, it's not. Like it's so technical that it's hard for it to be like anything more than just like this is work.
It almost takes intimacy out of an intimate scene by having all these people there.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too. Like with Savages, Oliver Stone said in order to break the ice with like Blake Lively and Aaron Taylor Johnson and Taylor Kitsch, he made them do all their sex scenes first. That was the first thing that they did. So it was like a hit, hello, hi, and then like, all right, we're all
let's get this over with.
yeah. So like he was like, I want to get that out of the way, and he said it made them more comfortable with each other.
First of all, great sex scenes.
Like, yeah, Savages might be a future deep dive for someone on here.
But it's funny because how awkward it is, you can tell when it's real. Like Gaius, when you and I saw Mr. and Mrs. Smith, we're like, that's real.
Oh, they're voting for
like they're doing that for real. There's something there.
Oh, we didn't do anything until after.
When there's actually chemistry there.
Yeah, nothing happened till the movie wraps. Okay. But yeah, I mean, but I just don't know. Once you get cut, I don't know if you like in this movie, you're like need to go in my own corner and like kind of mentally wash that.
Go to church.
But I guess like if you sign up for something like this, you all have to be on the same page about like what it is. So I mean, I guess like it might not be as difficult or taxing on them to do these scenes because they already know they're there. But William Friedkin, I mean, he's a interesting filmmaker to say the least, and I can actually see him making what's written be more aggressive while they're like, I mean, he had no time for safety regulations when he was doing The Exorcist. They all talk about how like there's no way a 12-year-old girl should have been put through what she was put through on that movie.
No.
So it's hard for them. I think it's interesting when you hear people talk about, and I'm only naming that because that is like his most high profile movie. But when the actors talk about their experience, it's mixed with like, we made a really great film, but he did not make it easy. Like it was not, he was like a very, like who cares if like she gets hurt while we're doing this? Like who like that? Like it's like use it. Like there's a scene in The Exorcist where Ella Burstyn like falls and like she gets pulled back, and she actually hurt her back, and he used that take of her actually hurting herself and screaming in pain.
It's realistic, and it is realistic.
That's the take he used. So he was like, yeah, whatever, walk it off. Like, you know, so he, in all honesty, he's probably the perfect someone to adapt this movie
Totally.
for the screen. So,
and I feel like that was a factor in getting like such a great ensemble cast, or like these people that want to work with the great William Friedkin. It's like among the Exorcists, he directed The French Connection, which is like I think it was a 71 Best Picture winner.
yep.
And another great one of his too is To Live and Die in LA is a great like mid-80s flick that he directed, which is fantastic. Like this is definitely a long time acclaimed director, which I definitely think like led into like maybe McConaughey being attached and Emile Hirsch as an up and comer wanting to work with like take a role so like probably not like anything else that he has done since, but just for the chance to work with Friedkin. I mean, I would be signing up to do anything with that guy, but he definitely elicits a lot of actors.
Yeah, if you're interested into sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it, man. Go for it.
No, I was gonna say like if you're interested too, like this is like he previously adapted another one of Tracy Letts plays for the big screen. It's a movie called Bug that came out in 2006, and Ashley Judd and Michael Shannon are in it. It is it's not funny, so it's not a dark comedy, but it's a very deeply disturbing movie. It takes a lot of.
I can't say I'm surprised.
Yeah, it's mentally exhausting. Like once it's over, like you like even like the comparison with this movie too. Like none of these people in the movie feel like they're acting. So when I watch Bug, that is how Ashley Judd and Michael Shannon come off in that movie. They are so committed to like, and they are playing some truly fucked up people. And so I didn't know that was also a play that this person did until I looked up the stuff for Killer Joe, and then saw that he had already directed something that was adapted from one of her plays. So I thought that was interesting. So he's definitely familiar with the work and probably felt really comfortable getting into it. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. But yeah, definitely check that movie out. I mean,
absolutely.
You guys seem to like things that are like deeply disturbing. So like, I think you might love you some Bug.
Definitely, I'm writing that down so I don't forget. But like, literally, Owen, you didn't get the chance to hear this, but like I was in our last episode, I just was telling Gaius that I'd seen. You ever hear of Martyrs? It's one of those like iceberg, like fucked up movies that's like hard to come by, but definitely if you are into this sort of stuff that I think that you are, it's a French film from 2008, but definitely worth
tell me it's international. I'm in. So actually, like we didn't get to talk about something that we like watched over the weekend, but I started watching this show. It's called Exit. It's like this Norwegian and like Swedish show about these stockbrokers and like their lives. Dude, the first scene is like this guy, like, and his buddy, full frontal nudity, dudes. And he unintentionally stabs this hooker in the eye with a fucking knife. I was like, all right, I think I know what I'm like. I'm in. So it's like, the second that you say something that's international, the way that those things are filmed, they just have so
the
much.
Europeans.
They know how to do it, but they also have a lot less restrictions, I think.
Yeah,
they don't. They don't.
In terms of like,
they don't shy away from like.
Not the way we'll show you it all. We'll show you.
Martyrs doesn't hold back. Definitely, it's known for just being like excessively picks like torture and violence, like probably worse than any movie I've seen before. But just an aside, that is worth a watch if you're into it, if you can handle your movies direct.
All the listeners, Jackson's actually a very lovable, very.
I love. He wants to see it,
but I like messed up art.
Go to the botanical gardens on the weekend.
Right.
But he also loves just like violently horrific
movies. Something that
he's like, bro, where are my entrails, dude? I need entrails.
Those are just the ones that after you see so many movies and being a horror fan for so long, it's just hard. You get desensitized after a while. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's want to mention just real quick too, like because you just mentioned the whole thing with like, you know, when you hear international and the stuff that they don't shy away from, just reading the stuff with like this movie too, how he fought not to have anything cut. I mean, like
that was a battle,
and it was a huge battle, and he did not want to cut anything. And, you know, it's unfortunate that like our movies here kind of go through that a bit more when it comes to violence and sex and stuff like that. That's, you know, like the MPAA will like cut you to pieces. If like, I mean, like always think it's interesting, like with Scream, how they kept giving that an NC-17 rating with the first one. They were like, no, it's too bloody, it's too bloody, it's too bloody, and Wes Craven would like cut things out, and they're like, no, it's too violent, it's too violent. And then I guess how they convinced the MPAA to give them an R. One of the Weinsteins, Harvey, but the other one, he told them that the movie was actually a comedy and to look at it that way. And so when they viewed Scream as a comedy, they were like, oh, so it's like satire, it's not like serious. So then they gave it an R rating. But like it's like it's so crazy how like our rating system when it comes to the stuff here is like intense.
Yeah.
Well, because in America you got the Bible Belt. That's the one you got to worry about.
That's right.
They're the ones who are going to be on the forums picketing outside if something's too fucked up.
Which is just ridiculous. It's like I get like what the MPAA like stands for and what it's trying to do and like kind of curb like this depiction of sex and violence in popular culture, but in states in particular, that is the wrong country to be worried about showing these things too, because that is reflected in the culture more so than most other countries. Dude,
America has so much other messed up shit going on that we don't need to be worried about. Like, oh my god, they're showing too many
censoring movies aren't gonna do anything. It's just
fallacious.
How many times did they say fuck? How many times did they say curse words? Like, should we give it an R rating? Oh god, maybe the kids will see it. Dude, the kids will torrent it, download it, and watch it by the time they're 11. Like,
at least I can say they
internet exists at this point. Like,
apparently, you're allowed one fuck in a PG-13 rated movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
2 fucks gives you an R.
Wall Street had fucked in at what, like 148?
148 a lot. Yeah. Indie Scorsese movie.
Yeah, exactly. There was a PG I saw. I can't remember what movie it was, but I remember noting because there was a fuck in it, and I was like, "Whoa, I'm pretty sure this is a PG." But it was recent. Like I'm pretty sure that you can see almost year by year, like how the ratings kind of slip a little bit, and they get a little more lenient. But I've heard of PGs with one F-bomb in them.
Did you guys have his quote of the director's quote about he said about wanting to? They asked him to cut stuff from the film.
No, I haven't seen that.
So it's very him. It's very dramatic. But
okay,
he said cutting would not have made it mass appeal. Cutting would have been the equivalent of what members of the United States government and military leaders said about the Vietnam War. They said we have destroyed Vietnam in order to save it, and that's what I would have done to Killer Joe. To get an R rating, I would have had to destroy it in order to save it, and I wasn't interested in doing that.
Getting political up in here.
I love his answer as dramatic.
It's dramatic. That's
His comparison is so true.
Yeah,
I'm glad that he held his ground and didn't, because I think the movie only would have suffered if you had taken away any of those moments.
I agree. I mean, everything, like even the nudity, like I didn't ever feel at a point where I was like, this is excessive. Like there was no point ever where I was like, gosh, like they're really leaning into this sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, even the scene, I think like one of my favorite scenes and like moments, especially, is when he's getting like the son is getting beat the shit out of by Joe, and the parents are holding him,
and
being like, they're like, kill him, like
kill him.
Yeah,
I was like, whoa,
kill him. And they zoom in on the pumpkin pie for some reason, like the pumpkin pie can.
Yeah.
He's just like beating the shit out of him, and they're like, kill him, Joe. His own father telling him to do it because he's screwed him out of 50 grand.
Yeah,
it's like that's like even that didn't seem like, oh gosh, this is over the top. And like gunshots, they seemed very realistic.
Yes, they did.
Like the one to the stomach. You guys think that Joe got shot?
Here's the ultimate ambiguous ending. What do you guys make of it? Because I'm not even sure that I really have my mind made up. I think I do. I mean, granted, the camera cuts before we can really have a chance to see what would happen. But what do you think?
So all we see is the finger going towards the trigger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Joe saying, "Put the gun down."
Right.
Or like what is?
He goes, "You're a baby," because she said,
Yeah,
baby.
And then focuses on her finger going towards the trigger, and he's like sitting there like ecstatic. But it's such a weird way to cut.
I think that she doesn't kill him because I think that she's so easily manipulated that he would find something to say.
That was the impression
it's gonna give her the reason to go with him, and he's gonna make her believe that she wants to be with him, regardless of the fact that he owns her now, quote unquote, due to this transaction, whatever it is, which she's privy to. Like she understands all this and is still she's like very smart. You even see that in the very beginning when like they're talking, they're like, she's sleepwalking again, and then they go back in the house and she's like, you guys are talking about killing my mom.
Kill my mom.
It's a great idea. Great idea. So,
you gonna kill my,
like,
you gonna kill my mama?
she's very like aware and knowledgeable, but she just has like, do you think that she is using that as a manipulation tactic, or do you think? I don't think so, because I think that she actually is a little bit like she needs some sort of guidance.
I think she's like, I agree with what you said. I think she is smarter than she appears, but I think she might just be emotionally naive too. So if he could say like whatever he needed to say, like I on the page as you where I don't think she shoots him. I think that he would be able to convince her and change her mind. Just because
Yeah.
we've seen how convincing he can be, and then also
how many clips? How many bullets are in a clip?
Yeah, I was
How
thinking
many
about like
bullets are in a
I was
clip?
thinking I was
Because,
trying to
she shot
count.
at
I
least,
was like,
9
Yeah.
times.
Someone on Reddit, because I was looking into this yesterday, counted, and assuming, I think if they were analyzing the type of gun that she had,
Oh my
they had to
gosh.
assume that it was fully loaded, and I think that they counted the shots. She should have 2 left.
Oh, fucking Reddit.
That's
man.
just some
I love
random
it. I
person's
love
like
Reddit for that.
interpretation. I know Reddit's awesome for that shit, but I'm of the opinion that she's gonna shoot him. Like, it doesn't really make sense because like she's on board with leaving with him, but then again, like there's a few things that she does in that final scene that don't really line up with her character. Like she
kills
pretty
her
like
brother.
very much kills her brother. Like that's
Yeah.
something I was like, I would have thought like he was gonna be making it out because they are tight the whole time. She clearly exhibits that he has an influence over her. Like she's listening to him over Joe at that dinner table scene, but
Yeah.
then she ends up shooting him when he's the victim of basically being killed, and she still shoots him because she's just kind of clearly like breaking. And then the last action we see of her is, so when she's done shooting and then pointing the gun at Joe, her finger's off the trigger. And the last sequence that Friedkin has you see is it moving to the trigger, even though it doesn't show you her doing it. I just can't help but think like that is what he wants you to think is going to happen next.
Yeah.
I don't really know why or if it makes sense, but she does things that doesn't make sense in that particular scene as well.
Yeah.
So I can kind of like justify it that way, but I love that he doesn't tell you. Like I
do like the ambiguity too.
favorite part.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what she has left though. Like why? Like I know it's an act of passion and all of these sort of things. Like it's going to be in the moment, in the heat of things. But
Right.
like, what would she benefit from by killing everyone there? Like she has nothing
Well,
left. She still doesn't have money tied to her name.
Her stepmom is still unscathed, other than like the beating she got.
Yeah, the beating she gets.
She's really the healthiest relationship that Dottie has in that movie. Is
the
with
healthiest relationship in the
stepmom.
movie.
Yeah, definitely. Like there's no
which says a lot about.
Yes, it does.
It says a lot about
The nicest thing anyone does for anyone in that movie is she accidentally puts black olives on this pizza so her stepdaughter can have some dinner.
Yeah,
exactly. So I feel like
the people we're dealing with, guys.
Yeah, nobody in this movie has very many redeeming qualities other than Dottie, who I think in her last moments kind of like erases all that by like, randomly shooting people, but she doesn't do anything bad or wrong throughout the entire runtime of the movie, pretty much.
So I have a question for you guys. Like, and I think it speaks to the fact that we haven't even mentioned it at all throughout this entire conversation. What did you guys think of the subplot of like Digger and the guys that he owes money to? I felt like it was such a like extra like spot that just was kind of a.
It felt like
it was an explanation for why Emile owed money, and like I mean, I get that they need that, but they might have done without it. I think
it wasn't entirely necessary.
It was interesting.
It felt a little, especially since everything else in that movie is pretty provocative and interesting in its own right, that it didn't feel necessary to have it, and I really wasn't that invested in it. Like I don't know, and it's not something you really needed. You could probably eliminate that subplot and still,
like you could have him show up, getting beat up, be like, "Yeah, the guys I owe money, kick the shit out."
Yeah, and that could be.
You don't need 10 minutes of
him running away from them,
running
chase.
Right.
Yeah,
like,
I agree that I really like that he has a good motivation for wanting beyond just not liking his mom and them not getting along. Like this, he has a reason to initiate this whole thing in the first place. Like he's going to be killed if he doesn't owe this money, and what better way to do this by taking his mom out? I think they show just the right amount, if not a little bit more attention to that subplot. Like you only really get that other one scene later with him getting beat up, and then it's not really mentioned again, but it's enough for you to be reminded what's at stake here and why he's doing this in the first place. I feel like it would be overlooked if there was no attention brought back to it again throughout the movie.
True.
So I think at least we get one scene kind of reminding us of why he set this whole thing in motion in the first place.
Why he's desperate.
It's appropriate. Yeah, but I agree.
I also like Joe's confirmation too, where he's like, "Oh yeah, you got money. You owe money to Digger. He'll kill you. He will." And I know. And if Joe's saying that, you're like,
exactly.
You're like,
and you
it's
get a
not
little
just
glimpse.
a threat.
That's right.
So what I wanted to ask you guys, I know we keep bringing up the chicken fellatio scene, but I mean, it's
It's
there,
worth,
guys. It's
mention.
there. It's there.
You
It's there.
can't.
So
not mention it.
so I mean, honestly, the movie's already batshit crazy, but like from there all the way to its conclusion, your first time seeing it, what was your reaction to? Like, did you even you first saw the movie? Like, you guys didn't know that would be there, right? So it's just like,
No.
yeah. So like, you hadn't heard about it or anything. So like, what was your reaction to seeing that for the very first time? Almost take you out of it, or where you're like, oh, like it's so jarring.
It is very jarring. I remember being in complete awe at Matthew's performance and like just the what can be done with such a simple odd object that would have no like malevolence by itself, but what he's able to do with it and completely submit this woman to like the most degrading act you could possibly think of,
Yeah.
all the while simulating like a very convincing orgasm. It was just a masterclass in acting and like his completely
Do you think he
unhinged
did, though?
psychology.
I'm wondering if you guys thought. Do you think he did?
I think he's crazy enough that yeah,
I think so.
I can see it. I
I
honestly
think
don't
that, like
know.
that got it. Like,
I
'cause
think he got
that,
off
like,
on it.
he didn't do that when he was with Dottie. So it's like, do you think that this was an act, or like I think that he actually like this is what actually gets him off.
Yeah.
Like, is
I
the
agree.
actual violence of it, and like actually putting someone through something that fucked up.
Right. I completely agree. Like he is a textbook psychopath, and
Yeah.
that is the type of shit that he gets his rocks off to. But I remember like
Gets his
staring
chicken
in
off
open
too.
mouth. Exactly. I remember.
Also, I've never heard anyone call it K Fry C, but I
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
weird. I've never,
Yeah, I never heard that
I've
either.
heard it like
Call it
4
anything
times
else
in that
now.
one scene.
Like maybe in Texas, I don't know.
Yeah, might be a Texas thing.
I also love how they couldn't use the to infinity and beyond from Disney. They had to say to infinity into the rest of space or
Space.
something like that. I was like, dude, that
Which
is
I think-
copyright fucking infringement right there. That
I
is-
like that it plays into the
like-
whole like backwoods, like just
Like trailer
stupidity
trash.
and trailer trash,
They don't know anything.
That's true.
which calls me back.
Who listening might be trailer trash.
Yeah.
If you are or not.
That's a hilarious line earlier in the movie that really like harkens back to like their unintelligence. Is like moment where I think it's right after Joe leaves the pool hall and they're talking about backing out of it, and his dad, who I can't remember his name, is saying like, let's just do it ourselves. And Chris goes, are you gonna kill somebody? You can't even tell the time. And oh my god, man, that line is funny.
Yeah. Retainer is like, what's a retainer?
Yeah,
Like,
well, retain what
you know he's
exactly?
talking
Yeah.
about?
Are you that stupid?
Yeah.
And then he just like whips a pool ball at him. Oh my god, man.
God. Yeah,
Oh,
it's just such a great like I think it just really shows like a great moment of like how one idea can fester into just such absolute abomination. Or,
And
like
spiral completely out of control.
yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean these, and I hate to say it, like low life sort of unintelligent people who don't really have much going on,
Mhm.
working paycheck to paycheck at a muffler shop, at a pizza shop, like they're living paycheck to paycheck, spending it all on beer and strip clubs.
Weed and yeah,
Like
exactly.
yeah. I also love this is shit weed. Where'd you get this? I bought this from you.
That was this? Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think it's just a great sense of like how one idea of like, dude, 50 grand just to kill someone, like that's easy.
You're
But to see how like what that actually entails, the kind of person that you have to involve in order to kind of keep your hands clean.
right.
I really thought that was a great show of all of that just
Mhm.
like you said spirals out of control, and it does not go to plan.
I love when a
at
plan
all.
does not come together and unravels. Like that just makes for like the best plots for
Yeah.
me.
No.
But it
Yeah,
also
that's
gives me a smidge of anxiety where I'm just like
Yeah.
like there is this plan, and there's like I'm 30 minutes into the movie, I'm like, dude, something's gonna go up. Like something's going on, something's gonna go wrong. Which is, I mean, half the fun of going to the movies is finding something that is gonna be what is gonna derail the situation. Like that kind of-
Right.
Yeah, it's always fun. A fun moment when you're watching certain movies where you realize like the moment where like, oh, this took a turn. Like we're like, oh, this is not going the way I thought it was gonna go. And of course, in a movie like this, the plans aren't gonna go exactly how they're supposed to go. But like,
Mhm.
it's all in that journey of like, how does it derail and how does it kind of like fall apart? And in the case of this was a pretty, I mean, shocking way to do it. But I mean, I was all in for it. I mean, like I appreciate.
You think
know,
KFC paid for some promotion?
I was thinking about that too.
I'm
'Cause I don't
wondering.
think I would pay for this. I would not
They would-
pay
they
for
would- sell their fried chicken like based on like using
I have a feeling they were approached before
Chicken's
that
so good
scene
you
was
could suck it
shot.
right off the
Yeah,
bone.
Suck
right
it
up-
up.
yeah, exactly. There's no way they, after knowing what the scene was going to entail, I don't think.
No,
No way.
it'd be really funny if they lied to them. They're like, no, it's just like in the dinner scene. That's
Yeah.
it.
I can see it.
We call it K-Fry-C. We don't actually say the name. We're
That's
good.
right.
Oh man, honestly, you spoke of Matthew McConaughey's performance in that scene. I mean, also Gina Gershon. I mean, I'm gonna
She
give her a round of
looks
applause because
completely
like
shaken.
He was
yeah,
incredible in that scene.
this is this. I mean, again, we brought it up where like you have to trust your scene partner, and I assuming there's a lot of trust there.
Had
And,
to
like,
have been.
I mean, I would if I was an actor, I would low key be dreading the day we had to do it. Like when does this fall in the
Yeah, you
schedule?
read the script and you're like,
uh,
I'm cool with all this except for this right here.
'cause, you know, like,
Yeah.
most of the time, movies are shot out of order, so it's not like that necessarily was like last for them to do. It could have easily
Right.
been like, hell, all we know, it could have been first.
Exactly.
Could have gone Savages style.
I know Savage's style. Like, just get this out of the way. But yeah, she's pretty
Imagine
great. I
that
mean,
being the first scene. You walk onto
Oh,
a set, you're like, I
man.
just got a new job. All right, so here's the scene we're shooting today.
what scenes you do today?
Oh god.
Yeah, how was work,
I don't-
honey? Shut the fuck.
It's
Don't talk to me.
traumatizing.
There would be a lot of you'll just see it when it comes out. Actually, maybe you don't even have to see it.
Yeah, actually,
maybe you should.
'cause
Maybe
it's not
just,
even allowed in theaters.
maybe you can skip this one, babe. You don't have to go see it.
I love too that so many like promo shots of that, like even the DVDs or posters, like a random Texas shaped like chicken like nugget or like drumstick.
So that was
It's
the
like,
first image
what?
I saw
Yeah.
from it. I was like,
Like,
what
what
is
does this
this?
have to do with this? Then you find out,
And then you find out. Oh man.
which I love that.
Which is why I think it's satirical.
Yeah. Oh, and 100%
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
In a does a good job at being depraved and sinister as well. Like you really got to
Depraved
like
is the
be into
perfect
it.
word for it.
It very much is.
Botched.
It's a good
The-
yeah, it's a good word for it. And I think the fact that it is satirical and darkly funny, it kind of I still felt a little disgusted, but like you feel a little bit better about what you're watching because it's like
At
it's
least you
framed,
laugh. a couple
yeah,
times.
it's framed in the context of it being a comedy almost. So you're like, oh, okay, like yourself a bit for like
That's right.
watching it. You know that it's all very tongue in cheek, kind of like it's not really if this was, I mean something that was depicted as like maybe something more real, and there was no comedy in it. I mean,
Be a tougher sell.
I mean, it'd be a tougher sell. I don't know if I would have liked it the same way.
But
But
like,
like,
so fine that like the first time I watched it, I didn't find it funny at all.
oh really?
Yeah, the first time I saw it.
Oh,
The first time I saw it, I thought I took it very seriously. And I think only the second watch I was like, okay, they're making fun of some things here a little bit.
Right. I appreciated that aspect of it on my second, or this was my third, but on this most recent watch as well. I remember like finding a couple parts humorous, but I was really into the whole dark comedy / parody side of this movie on this watch. I think that would benefit somebody going in who hadn't seen it before, but
Yeah.
it's obviously able to pick
well,
up on that stuff quite
yeah,
easily.
it was funny too because I was actually texting. 'Cause my buddy Justin's a movie guy too, and I was texting him about this movie, and I was trying to I was like, "There's some like really fucking strange shit in this," and then he reminded me. He was like, "Dude, you watch so many horror films that probably have so much worse stuff in it," and then he reminded me of the Hills Have Eyes remake, and there's a scene in that movie where they attack like the camper that the family's staying in. The wife has just had a baby, so she's able to breastfeed and stuff. So at one point, one of the mutant dudes is like sucking out her breast milk while he has a gun to her baby's head. And
Oh my, I haven't seen that yet.
And then he mentioned that to me. I was like, yeah, you're right. Never mind. I guess I can't be shocked by anything.
That's what
I
I'm
see.
saying. It's
By the
hard to
way,
get
I
into
Because
these
even though you've still seen that, this is still shocking. Because you've
No,
never seen someone perform fellatio on a chick.
exactly.
Well, Matthew McConaughey has an orgasm. Like that is something you can't say you've ever seen.
And by the way, the Hills Have Eyes remake is a slow burn. The first 45 minutes, it's all like getting to know the characters. That whole camper trailer attack scene happens 45 minutes in, and it's so
Okay.
jarring. I remember when we saw it in the theaters, there was like a bunch of people in the front row that got up and left because they were like, it was like,
Wow.
because the original it goes kind of far, but the remake was, I mean, that image will be burned in my head forever. Like just like holding a gun to her baby's head while he's like sucking your breast milk.
Yeah, I
And,
gotta check that one out, I think.
Jackson's like writing that down, right?
Jackson's like, so Hills Have Eyes. tonight."
I gotta see. I gotta see Wes Craven's OG before. I didn't really know if the remake was like worthwhile or not. but-
The remake is so good, and I would,
Yeah.
and I love me some Wes Craven, but the remake I think is actually better than
Okay.
the original.
Interesting. You gave me.
But yeah.
I'll add that to October's watch.
Yeah,
watch
but,
list.
oh yeah, we're gonna cover a bunch of horror, I think, in October.
Big time. I thought I watched
yeah.
in September and October.
So yeah, I definitely want to check out, especially since each week I learn like you just like the more to pay, the better, man.
Yeah,
he's like
100%.
show me some. I love.
I have limits though. I do have limits.
What?
Trust it. I'll save this for like another like conversation down the line. But like, you guys familiar at all with Lars von Trier?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's that goes too far. A lot of his stuff goes really too far, but other people think he's like a provocative filmmaker. And
did he make that new movie that's like the one where they're like body enhancements?
Are you thinking of thinking of Crimes of the Future?
I think so.
Cronenberg, right? That was Cronenberg.
Yeah, it's David.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Lars von Trier. I think he's Austrian. Anyway.
Germans and Austrians, they're just like, let's fucking go for it, dude.
Yeah, there's some fucked up individuals.
Well, it's like when we were talking about the director in Blonde, and he was like, "You just silly Americans just didn't get it." Like he was just like, went off on us because like, I was like you guys are
just like the Vietnam War. We'll back out.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned him. I actually have my limits when it comes to him too.
That movie, Antichrist, that scene. I think have you seen that one?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm sure you know the scene.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Nothing has ever impacted me. Like I actually almost passed out. I've never done that before. Never has a movie had that impact on me, but that would be my limit. So things can get to me. It's just very hard. It's called Antichrist. It has Willem Dafoe in it actually.
Now he's ready.
He's involved in the scene that I'm talking about. There's a scene that, unlike anything else I've ever seen before in it, I literally almost fainted. It was so disgusting.
Wow.
Watch. Yeah. Nothing has ever even come close to that. We'll just put it that way. Nothing has since. But yeah, check him out sometime.
Yeah,
he's quite the filmmaker.
I mean, he's one of those people that like people that do like his stuff. They defend it. Like we made that joke in the group chat, but like this is art, this is cinema. When they talk about his stuff, that is kind of what they do. They're like, hey, you guys just don't get it. It's just like he's crossing boundaries that like other filmmakers are afraid to cross. And on the one hand, yeah, I do respect that, I guess, but I think there should be some limits to like what you can show on screen. I mean, it's weird though. Like you talk about this, I'm a horror fan. Have you
ever seen a Serbian film?
That I won't watch. I don't think anything's seen. That's the
line. That's the line for me.
Yeah.
I won't watch it.
That's a great. So this Martyrs movie I was talking about earlier is like on par with like it's on that iceberg tier list. Like it's usually side by side. It's probably not as disgusting as Serbian film, but it's on there.
Yeah, it's just like there's so many things where it's like anything you can think of as like the worst thing that could happen.
Right.
They show it. And it's not just like, oh, we're talking about like a situation. No, they show everything that happens, and that's too far from it.
With that, yeah, I feel like a Serbian film doesn't have much to offer like artistically. It's just showing you the most fucked up things you can imagine on film, not for any particular reason. Whereas like people like Lars von Trier, as controversial as he is trying to offer you something in the name of art.
That's why I kind of defend that a lot with horror movies, because I know some people are like, oh, I can't believe they're showing that or doing that. And like I made a reference to that scene in The Hills Have Eyes. It is disturbing, but it works so well because that's what it's supposed to be. Yeah, it's weird to call it art, right? I can't believe I'm like calling it like that art, but like it's supposed to be sold in like this visceral experience, and that
it's funny.
But it wouldn't work if they didn't go. I mean, I think horror films kind of toe the line a little bit. Where it's like,
I mean, yeah. Horror films are there for a reason.
Yeah,
and you know what you're getting into. Hopefully, when you're watching,
you know what you're signing up for.
Yes,
right. So with this movie, guys, with Killer Joe, would you recommend it to your casual movie going friend? Well, it's funny that you guys are casual movie goer watchers. So like,
though, because like you're talking about casual movie going. It's like, so my mom called me today and was just like, hey, like, how are you spending your birthday? And I was like, well, I had a very social weekend, so I'm just gonna like chill at home, watch a movie, and order a pizza. She's like, well, I hope you have a very like relaxing movie watching time. I was like,
oh god, not exactly.
Watching's not really relaxing. Yeah. So it's like, it's definitely a certain mindset you have to be in when you're ready for something like this, because it's not just like let's throw on This Is the End or Superbad and like just kind of like chill. It's definitely something that like you want to see it. You want to be able to watch the movie. It's not a throw on in the background kind of movie.
Exactly. So, that's why I would say it would be hard to recommend, because you need to actually pay attention to this movie and pay it the service that it requires. But like, I would recommend this to my friends that I know love movies that would take the time to appreciate it.
Exactly.
But to a group of buddies, I
I-
would never throw this on and say, "Oh, guys, check this one out." You know what I mean?
But I feel like no matter what,
all
no
your
matter
friends
what,
just
I
look
have
at
to-
you like,
Like, what the
But
fuck?
no matter what, I still have to preface it. Like I'd be like, "Hey, you should watch this movie. It's really good, but it's fucked up." Like
Right.
that's how I would preface it. Like just that, and be like, "Hey, there's some scenes that are kind of like out there."
Yeah.
And it was rated this for a while. It was R on Amazon, so I think they might have changed it.
Like,
There's different
yeah.
editions out there. I don't think I've seen the NC-17 one. I think I've seen the.
I think it's only NC-17 because they show like vagina and like the scene of
Yeah,
Yeah.
according to the
basically,
MPAA, the movie is rated NC-17 for graphic, disturbing content involving violence and sexuality and a scene of brutality. A scene.
A scene of brutality?
A scene of brutality.
Sounds about right. Yeah, it's a long ass, like a 20-minute long scene. It's a bunch of
More, I think it's more of a
brutality.
more of a sequence.
Yes.
Than
yeah.
what it is.
Better
But,
way to
like, is
describe
it not the best scene in the movie though?
So I
Absolutely.
feel I feel bad. Maybe I won't feel bad. I'm amongst friends. I actually thought how that all wrapped up, like the crazier it got, I felt almost bad saying like I think this is like the best section of this. Like it got to me in a
Yeah.
real way, and
It was great payoff.
like I said when my brother walked in, he was like, "What the fuck are you watching?" I was like, "I know." Like for you to walk in like right now is like the worst time for you to walk in.
Watching so
I'm saying about I felt I'm glad that, like I'm amongst friends because I did feel like this is the best part of the movie though. I mean, as far as like
it is.
how far they were willing to go and how they sold it completely sold it. Like I bought into how fucked up the whole thing was, and it definitely when it was over, it still stayed with me. Like I was like, I
Right.
can't
Also, because you kind of
I can't wash that away. Yeah.
Like you feel for each character. You feel for McConaughey because you're like, he got cheated out of the money. You feel for the girl because she's like, I was just this close to getting away with getting $100,000. And then you feel for the other guys who were oblivious. So like you kind of feel for every single one of those characters in which situation they are.
Yeah.
And they do a really good job of showing each side of that, like the like not really being aware of things, especially the dad.
Yeah, he's the most clueless.
Sandman.
Yeah.
He's just like, I have no idea what's going on.
I love that you keep calling it the Sandman.
Dude, that's the only thing I can
All
think of.
you kids, if you haven't seen Spider-Man 3, the not good one, that he's in that.
Okay, first of all, hold your tongue.
You like Spider-Man 3?
Bro, of course I did.
The movie is trash. Sorry.
I grew up with that movie, man. I grew up with that movie.
The first two are amazing, and then
When Tobey Maguire tries to go Venom, oh my, that's
the emo.
I draw the line, yeah.
And the dancing.
gonna put some dirt in your.
And Topher Grace was an awful choice for.
He is so.
I-
I love Topher Grace, but terrible casting.
Yeah.
I like Topher Grace.
Not
too.
intimidating.
That was not right at all.
No.
It honestly, it reminds me of like, because Spider-Man 2 is so good. I was like, this third one has to be really good. It reminds me when I first saw X2, and I was like, there's so much potential for X-Men: The Last Stand. No, it sucks, and that's how I felt about Spider-Man 3. I'm sorry, Thomas Haden Church. We didn't mean to diss your other movie.
He's good in it though.
He is good in it. Yeah. I'm trying to think of nice things to say about it. I didn't know Owen had a soft spot for it.
There's sequences to like in it, but overall, it's a movie.
Listen, man. Sandman, baby.
You know, to be fair,
He is dope.
I actually like the Amazing Spider-Man 2. So everyone likes a really bad Spider-Man movie, I guess. And they're Jackson's like, oops, nope.
Okay.
I haven't seen the second one. I haven't really seen fully Andrew Garfield's. Saw the first one like way back in the day, but been too long.
If you like a Spider-Man who's like pretty okay at skateboarding and he like loves to do like a little skateboarding montage where he becomes Spider-Man, then definitely check it out.
Oh god,
He's like too cool to be Peter Parker. Like I like
He's
Garfield's
too
a good,
hot to be Spider-Man.
That's a great.
Andrew Garfield's a great actor, and I actually
For sure.
you know what? Here's the deal. I actually thought he was a good Spider-Man, and I was on that train when those movies came out, and then other people want to hop on that train when they were like, I can't wait to see it. He's in No Way Home. I'm gonna be so excited. Like you guys weren't excited like 10 years before that. You guys were like, oh, it sucks, get rid of him. And then like it's a rewriting history. Like, no, we always loved him. We can't wait for him to come back. We liked him more than Tobey Maguire. Like, no, you what?
Okay, first of all,
sorry guys, we
little tangent there.
little tangent.
Yeah. That's what this is good for, though. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Jackson, I just
Pick, man.
man,
Good pick.
it
brother.
was such a solid.
appreciate that.
And
I'm very
I-
happy and fulfilled.
Yeah, I'm glad you weren't like. Glad you were worried for like a second. Like, I hope they don't think I'm weird. Um,
Well, it crossed my mind. I was like, oh god, because I didn't even remember how brutal this movie was. Don't we? So I was like,
like the the vicious beating of the son at the end. I forgot about that.
That part I did remember, and I still picked this anyway. But
Yeah.
this is some of the shit with
I
Dottie.
mean, I remember
Oh my
like the
God.
honestly, I remember the most fucked up scene being when McConaughey basically like kind of sexually assault / rapes the girl, where it's like
Right.
she's not really asking for it, and he's like, "Hey, we have a date. You owe me this. Put the dress on. Now take it off."
Right.
That was what I remember being the most like disturbing scene, which is now
Definitely
not,
the dirtiest.
which is like
The-
now not.
that was a scene that made me feel the grossest on the rewatch. Like
Yeah,
all the, even like the chicken aside, it was partly humorous. But the stuff with Dottie, who's like portrayed as like so innocent, and him being so imposing and like intimidating, that part I felt like, oh, this is wrong. But I love the movie
well,
though.
I think that like that scene, especially like when like they go on their date, is like you can see, and just like what you were saying, Jackson, is like his mental shift, where it's like he's being sort of like this very nice guy, like, hey,
Yeah.
how are you? Like, oh, you changed. Like,
He
what
gives
is
her
your
a space.
yeah. And then he kind of realizes like what her mental capacity is, and he's like, no, I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want now.
That's right.
And now you better follow my directions, and guess what? She's gonna follow it. And that was kind of like that was fucked up. So,
100%. No one is
yeah.
redeemable. Everyone is a bad guy in this movie.
Yeah.
pretty much.
Everyone's a little bit vile. A little bit, some more than others, but yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So to wrap things up, I wanted to see what you guys would rate this movie out of 10, or whatever your rating system is, and if you think you'll revisit this movie maybe in the future.
Gaius?
See, well,
No
first I will say
feelings
that
are gonna be hurt here.
no. I would give it a solid 8. Here's how I felt about it after it was done, and I know we're making jokes about like, oh, like they think I'm here for liking this. I respect any film that kind of, if this is what this is going to be, like, don't shy away from like what the intention is. And I am glad that, you know, all the things we've said about the director, like, I'm glad that he didn't want to cut things. I'm glad that he was like, this is what this project is, and we're going to go for it. I also respect when actors are 100% committed to their roles, and everyone in this movie is completely committed to their roles and performances. So I don't know. I love that it was a little offbeat and definitely strange. I would revisit it because I think I would want to see it, watching it again, like maybe seeing it through a different lens. I mean, I picked up on like the dark humor stuff like right away, and I think that is, and I think that's how they were able to really, I don't want to say get away with it. The movie was still controversial in its own right, but like because it's cut with comedy, it kind of makes some of the more disturbing moments a little less disturbing because you are looking at it through the view of like almost like satire a little bit. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I found something I've never seen, let alone heard of. So
me too. I'm so happy.
Dude, doesn't it feel good, Jackson? Whenever
it feels fucking awesome.
Amazing.
I can't just pull it from my stack over here. Like I don't have it. So like you know,
it's a great feeling.
Like I actually had to rate it. So like it was. I'm happy to have discovered it. So thank you for recommending it.
Awesome. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah,
Owen,
I'd give it a solid 7. I think that this movie, like, the reason that it's not an 8 or higher than that, like, is because I think McConaughey takes this acting level to the next level. And like him and Gina Gershon are the most believable characters in this movie. And I hate to say it, but it's like I think Emile Hirsch and Thomas Church, like, I think that they play a little bit sometimes too much into this trailer trash, sort of like intelligent kind of person, where it's like
you feel like it almost becomes like parody a little bit.
It becomes a little bit, becomes a little bit too much. Just like I don't think, like, it feels very scripted, whereas McConaughey feels very realistic, and Gina feels very realistic, and like the way that they're delivering the lines.
Yeah, they're not trying to act. It's almost like they're just being authentic. Yeah.
Exactly. They feel very authentic. It feels like their lines are coming straight from their mouth, not straight from the page.
Right.
So I think that's why I'd give it 7. I mean, the shock factor alone is going to have me revisit this in a heartbeat.
It's entertaining as hell, right?
Yeah, it's entertaining, and I'd love to watch it with some like-minded people like you guys. Just kind of just like also find some
people that would
find
like
some more
it.
scenes.
That would understand it. Yeah, that would get it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to, like, honestly, I'd love to watch it with both of you guys and just like find some stuff that like maybe you like some thoughts that you guys had that we weren't able to talk about today, and just be like, oh, think about this, think about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So definitely a revisit, but McConaughey takes the cake.
Yeah. If you guys are McConaughey fans and haven't seen this will be something unlike anything else he's done in his filmography. So, take that, do with that what you will.
Say that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What score would you give it, Jackson?
This is an 8 for me. I'd even like put it higher for like the entertainment value that it has. Like a movie that like I enjoy as much as some 10 out of 10s I have. Is it a 10 out of 10 movie? Not necessarily. No, it's very hard to give that rating out, but like I enjoy it like a 10 out of 10. Like there's nothing in this movie I don't really like even on that rewatch, it had been a few years. Like I was glued to the end. Was everything checked all my boxes. Like it was genuinely laugh out loud hilarious in more than one moment. It was just the right amount of like gross and disturbing for my liking, but honestly to the point where I was actually like feeling stuff like, wow, I haven't felt this way in a while. I love when a movie can elicit that out of me, because so many of them are just like, even if they're good, very few actually have a lasting impact. You know what I mean? I mean, a lot do for enough time, but there are so many out there that just don't do anything. So when a movie comes along like this that actually pushes boundary of yours, it's hard not to meet it with praise. So movie, I would say I'd wrap it up at like an 8, but I really love it.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Good pick. Great pick.
Yeah, really good.
Thank you very much, and thanks a lot for having me on this segment, guys. It was a blast.
Dude,
thanks
course,
for the pick.
Yeah, it was really good.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I'm happy in this pick.
We have a couple of fun facts about the film, and then we have I was able to get some questions for you, Jackson, when I found out you were going to be on. We usually have questions at the end for both of us, so we'll get to that, and then we can wrap it up. So I guess I'm going to call these fun facts. I haven't read them thoroughly first, so hopefully they're all fun. Gina Gershon had been originally offered the role of Charlotte almost 20 years previously when the script was for a play, but she turned it down because she could not imagine performing the infamous chicken leg scene 8 times a week on stage.
Yeah, she's like, I'll do it once.
Hopefully in one take. Go ahead.
Yeah, according to Matthew McConaughey, director William Friedkin rarely exceeded 3 takes per scene when filming. Juno Temple confirmed it, saying he trusts you so much, and in turn, you trust him with your whole heart. He does 1 or 2 takes of everything, and when you have a director that believes in you that strongly, all you want to do is get right to the minute they say action.
I love that.
Nice to hear from her.
It should be. I feel like.
Yeah, that's how it should be, for sure. His memoir, William Friedkin wrote that Jennifer Lawrence desperately wanted the role of Dottie and was willing to shoot the full frontal nudity, but she couldn't do it due to a scheduling conflict.
She would have been a good Dottie, I would say. I think
so.
She's too tall to be Dottie.
She's imposing. Yeah, she's a bit imposing.
How old would she have been in 2010 though, when this was being filmed?
Yeah.
I don't know. Quick research, Owen.
Quick.
I honestly, like, I have my kind of issues with Jennifer Lawrence, but this would be the one I think.
You got Jennifer Lawrence.
I love her and stuff, and I hate her and stuff.
She would have been 20.
Okay, perfect. So a year younger than the actor.
I mean, they also kind of look
similar. I think she would have killed that role. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm glad Juno Temple knocked it out of the park. She was perfect.
She had the innocence and she did a great job.
I could see Jennifer Lawrence doing that.
Yeah. Director William Friedkin was shocked when he found out that the film was given the NC-17 rating and refused to alter the film for fear that any cut or edit would take away from the filthiness of the film. It was released theatrically with the NC-17 rating later, surrendering the rating for video release as the unrated director's cut. An edited R-rated version was released on DVD and Blu-ray in order for certain retailers to carry the film.
Huh.
Which is probably the edition that I have on the way from eBay right now.
Yeah.
In an interview, Gina Gershon revealed that she wore a merkin. After ordering a wide variety, she settled on one she named Bertha.
Oh my god!
She ordered a what?
A merkin.
Merkin. Is it not a fake bush? Is it not?
Yeah.
Oh my! Okay, thank you.
And that makes things better.
And that is a fun fact for sure.
That is a really fun fact.
Wait, so a merkin is bush apparently. That's something new for me.
And she named it Bertha.
Appropriate. It was Bertha sized.
William Friedkin initially considered either Kurt Russell or Billy Bob Thornton for the role of Joe Cooper. Russell was interested, but ultimately turned down the role, saying that his long-term partner Goldie Hawn would kill him for playing such a dark role.
Kurt would have been.
Kurt would have been great. Could not have seen Billy Bob.
No, have you seen Billy Bob in Fargo, the show?
No.
Watch that sometime. He's incredible in that. He's a very imposing Killer Joe type of character in that. Yeah, if you see that, you might change your mind about him.
All right.
But I think Kurt would have been awesome. I love Kurt.
Kurt would have been great.
Yeah.
Actress Juno Temple says she's never been freaked out by nude scenes except in Killer Joe because she had to take her clothes off while Matthew got to keep his clothes on, which she thought was just cruel.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
Juno Temple said that she had an epic moment.
well,
during
I mean,
rehearsal.
she does see him with his clothes off. I actually wrote that on my notes. Is like when he's naked and he pulls the gun on Chris or Emile.
Oh,
I think it's
yeah.
a-
Yeah.
he does say his
But
clothes
I
off.
guess in their sex scene, though, I guess she's naked and he's not.
Yeah, yeah.
So that would be a little bit different.
Yeah.
And then during an interview, Juno Temple said Southern accents are pretty easy for an English person because the voice comes from the same part of your throat and there's the same kind of music to it. So she said it was very easy for her to do the accent.
Impressive that she put that accent on as well. She did, knowing that she's English.
Oh, this is actually good.
Wow.
Good one on McConaughey. It says Juno Temple said that performing the extensive nudity and sex during the scene with Matthew McConaughey was made much easier with his support. She said Matthew is one of the kindest guys I've ever worked with, and he's so generous, and he was very respectful and gentle with me. Because of course I was nervous. I've done nudity before. Nudity isn't something that really phases me, but in that scene, it's almost like puppeteering. He's telling her what to do, and she's just mesmerized, so she listens. But then she makes the choice when he says, "Come to me," and she does it. But I think that goes like we were saying earlier, just having like respect for your fellow co-star, and it seemed like he was very, very good with her.
Good.
And this movie did not make a lots of money because, of course, the rating thing. It $1.9 million in the domestic market and $2.6 million internationally for a global total of $4.6 million. It does have an 80% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes with 172 reviews counted.
Nice.
And Time Out New York actually named Killer Joe the 5th best film of 2012, calling it a thrilling black comedy that is a must-see. And Matthew McConaughey received an Independent Spirit Award nomination for Best Male Lead in this. Very interesting stuff about the movie. Well done, well done. All right, so we have questions. Jackson, you get to be a part of this for the first time. You actually get to be a part of this on the 100th episode as well. So how it goes usually there's one for me, one for him, and then one for both of us, but in this case it'll be one for three of us, and then we all get an individual. So Landon Johnson on Twitter, Jackson Landon wanted to know, it seems like you're very prepared. You guys do your episodes for Back to the Blockbuster. Do you do any prep before recording episode? It seems like you do. You always have notes.
Yeah, I do have notes. I have some right here. I don't know. Landon here probably won't see the video here, but I do have a notebook here. Yeah, exactly. Just stuff I write down on the fly. Thank you very much. When I'm actually writing, I have pretty good penmanship, but when I'm looking at the screen and jotting down notes, it's like doctor's writing, right? But yeah, no, I have a little notebook that I keep with me, and I'll write down things, like particularly when I'm watching movies, if I want to bring up like on an episode like this. Honestly, I don't even find I get to most of it, but it is nice to have a reminder of some things I want to bring up. A lot of it is on the fly, just stuff I have read throughout the week, like when we're talking about news, or if we're talking about, I do have like, I would say, a wide depth of lots of movies, stuff I can just pull from memory and stuff that I've seen. So it's like a little bit of, I'd say, half and half preparation and just on the spot contribution.
Yeah, I did. That was the first thing I noticed when you started being on regular. I was like, oh, he's got a notepad. Like he's actually like taking it seriously. I was like, I have to be better than.
No way.
I agree with you. It's like I feel like I have taken notes before, and like most of the stuff that I've written down just comes up naturally no matter what.
Exactly.
It's like I think there's a lot of stuff that like originally comes up that you kind of remember as someone's talking about a part of the movie.
Exactly.
Like we're thinking about, and that's why I love these deep dive episodes because like you have like 8 things that you want to talk about, and then like 9, 10, 11, 12 come up, and you're like, oh, that's right. Like I thought about that in the movie, didn't write it down.
And I found that has been the case.
Exactly. And that's the best part about it.
100%.
I agree.
Thank you for the question.
No problem. Landon, so thank him.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Thank you, Landon.
Yeah. Owen from Find That Pod. We've heard you talk. I've listened to Back to the Blockbuster since the beginning. I remember when you guys first had the deep dives as individual episodes. I want to know from you, Owen, is the deep dive show what you thought it was going to be, and how fun is it to do it? Thank you in advance.
Oh my God, dude. Okay. First of all, great question. Is just like the best envision like of what I could have expected. Like deep dives were some of my favorite episodes to do when we did them on like just The Social Network, your first pick, No Country for Old Men, my first pick when we first did them back in the day. And this episode and like this spinoff has just like turned into the exact thing that I've wanted, and it is insanely fun. It is infuriating when I have to wait 2 weeks to have my pick.
It's hard. It really is hard.
It's really hard. It's hard, but it's also like no matter what, every single movie that like we've done has been a great conversation and just fun to talk about. So it has just been the best. Gosh, January, right? Is that
Yeah.
when did we start
Yeah,
doing that?
so what's funny is that then we had the first one in December, and then we were like we were on
And
like
then it was
all
like
aboard.
New Year's. Yeah, it
And
was
then
like
and then it was like Christmas happened. You're like, dude, I forgot about all like actual obligations we had with family.
yeah, it was like we have
Before
two
we started
holidays.
this.
I'm like going to a wedding. Yeah, I had like
Yeah.
so, but yeah, dude, it's been the best like New Year's present ever. It's just like this show in general has just been so much fun, and it's given me a chance to like connect with new people like Jackson. Like, dude, it is so great to have
Exactly.
you
It's the
on here
best part.
because it's just
Appreciate that, man.
fantastic to have you as a part of Back to the Blockbuster, because you're a stellar addition and just like exactly the kind of people that we like to talk about. And like if you lived in Hermosa Beach,
Oh
well,
my
we-
God.
Yeah.
we
dude,
would-
thank you, man.
we'd be having some fun, man.
Oh, no
Yeah, for
doubt.
sure.
Eventually I'll get over there. But yes, I appreciate that. Man, I'm as equally happy to be here as you guys are to have me. It's a great dynamic, and I couldn't wish for a better group of people to be working with.
I think the cool thing too, like watching what the deep dive has become, because when Owen and I talked about doing a podcast in the beginning, that was kind of what it was. I think we both kind of envisioned it would be in our heads, and then
Mhm.
it's funny because Bev's Video Kingdom that we have that promo thing with. I read in one of their messages, they actually had like 17 like test episodes before they even went live. Like they recorded
Whoa.
like that, and like we didn't do that when we started Back to the Blockbuster. So it was like, all right, so it definitely wasn't fully envisioned as this like kind of breakdown of industry news. It kind of started with the concept of the deep dive, which is why I'm happy we were able to figure out how to still include it its
Right.
own way
Yeah.
and have it be its own thing, rather than kind of like you've noticed it too, like when we have to cover news and stuff, it'd be hard to cover news and then like jump in and talk about a movie in the same episode. Like it's really
Right.
we
Exactly.
used to kind of do that in the beginning, and I think we realized that like I think people are interested in you talking about like one individual film as well. And
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
and I think that's what we've kind of seen, because like a lot of the deep dive episodes do really well. So like I think people are interested, and I think they like that the picks aren't totally mainstream too.
Mm.
I think that
My favorite
helps a
part.
lot.
That's your favorite part,
yeah.
Jackson?
Love, yeah, that it just puts people and you get to talk about movies that are either like kind of like forgotten about or don't get the love that they deserve.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's been the fun part for me. And
It's the best, man. It's the best. It's the
Oh,
best.
Yeah,
I love it.
exactly.
Love it.
for me from Dums on Twitter. I hope I got that right. I think I got it right. Have you thought about? Well, thanks, man. Have you thought about creating another show or doing another spinoff? You guys are really really well. Love listening to the pod. My friend David, it wouldn't be connected to this, but my friend David, he did like a Jimmy Eat World podcast a really long time, and it just recently ended because they've talked about all they could talk about. I mean, they did a lot of episodes and they covered a lot of their music, and he was like, he loves doing podcasts. He actually loves listening to ours. He actually has said, like, since Jackson's been on and since we started to spit off, he was like, the show is just like both shows are so focused and he loves to listen to it. But I was like, really want to do a podcast thing again? He was like, I kind of am like, since we are both the same age, he kind of wants to do like a kind of like rewatch kind of thing where we watch kind of shows that we grew up with and we kind of break down
Okay.
episodes of them. I've
Nice.
thought about doing that with him. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I have a couple of ideas for like smaller things where they wouldn't be too long.
Mini series.
Like really smaller ones, like like there's been things I thought about when like Owen talks about like trailers from back in the day. Like I think it'd be fun sometimes to do like a 15-minute like breakdown of how bad certain trailers were, especially in like
Oh my
2002.
God. Like a
and
YouTube channel or something. Yeah.
I
Yes.
think that would be like a lot of fun.
In a world.
Yeah.
Hey,
and-
I've come such a long way. That would be a great series.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's like I'll break it down to just like the Bourne Ultimatum or the Bourne Serenity trailer is the worst piece of dog shit ever. It makes the movie look so stupid.
They
and
could not
now
make
what you're
trailers back in the
seeing,
day.
It's awful.
No.
Yeah, it was, and then the voiceover guy. Yeah, it's pretty. So I thought that'd be kind
That
of
dude
fun.
made a mint. That dude made
So
like
many.
solid money. Since I love horror movies, I've thought about like down the line doing kind of like a horror movie offshoot of this, like
Cool.
to just focus on like those particular films and not just like movies in general, but like even talk about like some of the tropes of the genre and different aspects of it. Rather than I thought that would be kind of fun. Man, I mean, thank you for the question. Like, I'm glad that we have two
Yes.
shows. Like that, we have two that
Yeah.
are.
Hey, two's doing well. How about three? We're like,
And okay, and the question for all three of us from Only Good Movies is: as you approach 100 episodes, what does 100 episodes mean to you as a group? You know what? Who wants to go first?
I'll start it off. I mean, 100 episodes, Gaius. I just want to say, like, dude, who'd have thought we'd be here at this point? We've been doing this for a long time.
I know.
Just like all the conversations that we've had about, like, this is the kind of stuff that we talk about just regularly. So, like, to have these conversations and to have people willing to listen to them and are interested by our babbling jargon, then like I am happy to continue to do that. And it is just such a blessing to be able to get to 100. And I also will say that it is a testament to our commitment of the dynamic changes of what this show's gone through and what we've been through. We've both grown and gone through like peaks and crests and troughs and waves of just like things, ups and downs of things, just like as humans and as people. So it's like it's great to see where we are now. And it has just been a fantastic journey. And to have someone like Jackson come along too as well and join the crew has just been just absolutely amazing. Because it's not the same without you now, Jackson. It wouldn't feel the same without you. And that is crazy to say because like
that only such a short while ago, right?
It's only been a little bit, but at the same time, like it was like this is the show now. Like this is what it's always meant to be. And the show when it first started is just miles different from what it is now. That just shows growth and commitment, and we've just done a lot of great things to continue to make this better. And that is a testament to Gaius. There's everything that you've done, everything that Jackson's done. So we've all been great contributing members, but without you guys, playlist, it's been
a team effort all around, even from behind the scenes stuff. But Gaius, I'll keep mine brief so you can end answering the question. But obviously, like not having been there from the start, the impact isn't as big considering my contribution. I'm anything just feel like happy to be here at this time when that episode is approaching, and I've been on for I don't know what episode I would have started at, but it's been a few now. It's been 5 months worth. Yeah,
I think we were in the 70s when like early 70s when we started. Yeah,
something like that. So it's like I still have this sense of pride now, having like been here with you guys for as long as I have and getting to this milestone with you guys. But I'm just, if anything, I still feel very much like a listener who was there from before I started on. And if anything, it's just like you said, Owen, just to reiterate your point, it's like a testament to the work that you guys have done from doing this for the year and a half that you guys have been doing it, and starting from your humble beginnings to what we are now. It's great to be a part of it. Ever it was that I joined, just happy to be here. Yeah, I'm looking forward to episode 100.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, I've told Owen like offline, like just us talking, like it completely morphed into a totally different show once you got on. I felt like we were making something new again. And I think it also kind of
reinvigorated us.
It really did. And I think it also like doing the spinoff too, at least for Owen and I, it became like so made the main show better because it was like, okay, now we have the best of both worlds of what this is. Like I can still do the industry news stuff, and I can also still do like more general movie conversation, and then honestly keep Owen a part of it because he was there from the beginning, and like coming up with a schedule for that show where it's like you're not doing it every week, you're doing it every other week, so it's a little easier to like manage. And like so once that all kind of came together, like doing the spinoff and then adding you on, like I mean we've been very honest about it on here. There was a lot of trial and error in the beginning, and a lot of it, and I'm just glad. I guess what it means to me is that I'm glad that we kept it going, like even when it felt like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, or like if I can do it anymore, like, you know, is it worth doing anymore? Like I'm glad that I didn't like stop it.
I'm glad too.
And I'm glad that I actually took, like, you know, when it was just me and like I was like rotating guests in, I'm glad I made the decision too not to just keep doing that. I was like, you know, you were good right away, so I was like, if he's down to do it, I would gladly have him every week.
Mhm.
Then you just got like, I mean, you were good from the start, but you got like better and better every week. Like
Practice,
it
right?
really
Definitely.
felt like, I feel like I'm talking to someone that I hang out with like in person. Like feels like I'm not, doesn't
When you
feel like
think
you're
about
like
it,
that far away.
no, we're all, there's only through a
We
screen.
do. We do. This
hang out
is
every
what
week.
it
Right.
is.
Yeah.
Right. I think someone mentioned at your birthday. I was talking to Anna about it. Owen, and I was like, it's interesting. Like, doesn't hang out with us, right? He's not here,
Mhm.
but like, I also know I have this like standing date with this guy on Mondays to do this. Like,
Yeah.
and then sometimes
It's a good friend that I've never met. Okay, listen, Jackson,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm
Yeah.
buying you a flight soon, and you're coming to fucking come.
I will be there as soon as
I'm telling you, I'm getting your information soon because it's happening.
It's
can't wait
like
to get out there.
It's like you've been here from the beginning. So like, I thought it would be interesting to
I appreciate that.
reading that question and what you thought that milestone means to you, but it feels like you've been here much longer than you have, and
It does
I
feel
think,
like it's been a minute now, which I like that it's settled in now. It's just reality, and I'm very happy for that.
I think I read somewhere too that like so many people give up on their podcasts. Like it's like I forgot what the number was, but it was pretty
It's probably high.
really early on where it's like becomes too difficult, it's too hard to manage. And I will not take anything away from people that do all their own editing and everything. Like I always mention the So Wizard podcast, because they edit their stuff. They're like 458 or 9 episodes
Insane.
in, and they don't have a break. They have not missed a week since they started. So
Years.
so it's a testament to, like,
Years.
it's a testament for the people that do that. I mean, Antonio is another good one that does the Cult Worthy podcast. He does all of his own stuff. So I have to say
All of
that
our boys.
we are very grateful and thankful that Playlist, like,
Yes, we are.
takes away that heavy lifting for us. Because I honestly think if I had to edit it too, I don't know
That
if
would
it
be a
could
tall
do it
order.
with and also work and like have life, and it's these guys managed to do it. Like when I listen to the So Wizard podcast, some of their episodes, they're talking about their week, and they're throwing in film stuff that they have to watch, but then there's also life stuff and like all that, and they are still like not missing a week, and they edit it themselves. So like I credit
hats
to
off.
people that do that. That great exists from the people that But the good thing about Playlists though is that like we rather you just focus on the content and make it good, and whatever
And I'll tell you
cuts and
this.
stuff you need.
I'll end it with this testament to this. Number one, good pods in film. And like it speaks for itself.
Yep, I think we kind of, like I said, it's always weird when I talk to Owen about it. Like
I told
like,
Jackson,
it's
I told you we'd get back to number one. I told you,
Yeah.
like the second that I was like, yo, we're getting back to number one.
100%.
Yep. And we have been several times now, so that's awesome. And I've talked to Owen all the time about it, where it feels like it's so weird that like people listen to it, like it's like, but like people actually care about what we have to say. Like it's still like a weird feeling, and to the point where they're listening, because like when Owen left, there was like I got messages about like, oh, like what happened to him, where'd he go? Like, so that's when I see like hard numbers, but it's different when someone mentions like one hasn't been on for like this many weeks, like what's going on. So that's when I was like, oh,
So they
like,
actually follow along and
they're
notice
actually
things.
following on and listening to it. And I think that it's like, this is really fun for us, and we're having a really good time. Of course, as we 100, there's a lot of things that we want to do and make happen with this show.
Mhm.
That because I think there's a big opportunity with it. But first and foremost, even if we transition to that and talk about that more, it's 100% first a fun thing to do,
and that's a foundation.
Yeah, it's not a chore. It feels good. Like Mondays, I look forward to recording on Monday. Whether it's every week with Jackson or every other week with Owen, it is like a highlight of the day, because it's just a fun, really fun, positive thing to do with my friends. And I appreciate you both as we get to 100 episodes of the main show. We have episode 11 of this. Like, one day we'll be having milestones with this one too. So like that's really cool. So
couldn't have said it better myself.
We will do this for as long as you guys are willing to listen to it. So I'm very happy with where it's going, and actually very proud of both of you guys for just giving 110%.
Man, we're proud of you.
Every time.
You do a lot of the heavy lifting for this, dude. And
we're proud and gracious and thankful for you, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, guys. Well,
and for all our listeners.
Cue the violins. That was very sweet, guys.
Yeah.
All right,
a very nice end to a very dramatic and gorgeous.
Oh my god, that's right.
Move it, yeah. So this is always the confusing part for me when it's both of you.
Oh,
like
it's
who
me.
goes
Sorry,
who?
I'm
Okay,
thinking
there you go. There
Go
you go.
ahead, buddy. All yours. I'll take the break.
Yes. Actually, say break. Well, guys, just want to say thank you so much for listening to Back to the Blockbuster Presents Deep Dives with Owen Gaius with special guest Jackson. It's a special day recording on my birthday. Being able to just like hang out with some of my best friends and talk about movies, talk about some deeply sometimes disturbing stuff that is like the thing is like when else are you going to talk about something like that? It's not a conversation that you can typically have with like just like at a dinner with friends. And so when you get to be able to spend an hour and 10 minutes or something like that talking about it with some people that care and have better points, like it's just one of the most fun things to do. Thanks for listening. Thank you so much to Playlist, to all of the heavy lifting that they do on the back end. It is just an incredible job that they do. Without them, we've said before, I don't know, we would not be where we are today. So thank you so much to Playlist. They're a great partner. Good Pods, as always, is now the way that I listen to it. I used to be a Spotify guy. Now I'm a Good Pods guy.
Okay.
That's the way I listen to it. It's actually a great platform. So they actually have a better interface that I like. You can click on different podcasts in a better and easier way, at least that I found. So you can listen to us anywhere you can find podcasts: Spotify, Apple Music, Yahoo, Google, Amazon, I guess, maybe. Who knows? And so just keep on listening, guys. Just love to continue to create content. We're not stopping. We're only going full steam ahead. This is just the very beginning of a great year to the summer months. Only episode 11. It feels like we've been
That's
doing
crazy.
it's crazy. It's only 11 of this deep dive. So
yeah.
Listen to the main show. Jackson's a hit on there. That's his main job over here. He's taking a side gig today.
That's right. And I'm going to do it. Thanks again.
But guys, just want to say thank you so much. Keep tuning in. Got a lot more coming your way. So we'll see you guys in a couple weeks with Gaius's pick. Who knows what it's going to be, but I have a feeling it's going to be something.
Yeah.
It's going to be something horror because he's teasing it.
I've been teasing it so much. I'll try.
Happy birthday again to you, Owen.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, happy
Pleasure.
birthday.
Thanks for
buddy.
having me on, boys.
Appreciate it,
Peace.
guys.